Hello, everyone, and welcome to Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop's October Melanated Monday. My name is Bianca, and I will be your MC for tonight. For this month's show, we have three insightful plays by BRTW's community members, along with a community conversation featuring a special guest. Before we get into this program, however, I want to hold some space for the people in Palestine by having a moment of silence. Thank you guys so much for holding that space with me. You can find places to donate and resources to learn more about what is happening in the description below. With that, let me tell you about who BRTW is and what we're doing this month, starting with our mission statement. BRTW exists to disrupt any and all oppressive systems that marginalize Black people by using narrative and performance as a methodology to recenter Black people and experiences. With economic, social, educational, healthcare, housing, and political injustice facing our community, BRTW aims to tackle the issues that impact us while becoming a beacon for Black opportunity within the arts. Melanated Mondays are a monthly writing and performance salon highlighting a different theme at the intersection of Black justice and civic engagement. This month's theme is spooky season. This Melanated Monday is a mixture of pieces that will get us in the Halloween spirit while centering Black people in horror and fantasy. It is not often we see Black people as fully actualized mythical creatures outside of the scope of racism. This program hopes to center and expand upon the experience. And with that, let's begin. Our first piece is Play On by Quinn D. Eli. Trigger warnings include racism, stereotyping, and strong language. Pearl will be played by Akemini, Voice/Cambridge will be played by Dewey, Griffin will be played by Tim, and stage directions will be read by Ev.
Scene 1. A large monitor hangs from a precarious wall mount in the center of a West Philadelphia living room. Griffin and Pearl, African American, are bathed in light from the monitor's screen. Griffin reclines on a couch, listening to music through bulky headphones, while Pearl engages in conversation with a high-pitched, vaguely robotic voice transmitting from the monitor. The voice sounds like it belongs to a young white woman, but it's hard to tell for sure. The image on the screen is elusive and full of wild static, like a TV on the fritz.
And will your family be joining us for the interview?
What? No, why would you ask that?
I was told they drop in quite often, at unexpected times, even without an invitation, offering you food and gossip and the proud, tribal wisdom of Mother Africa.
The proud what now?
Was I misinformed?
How about we focus on business instead of my family?
Of course. Is that Griffin's preference?
As a matter of fact, yeah, he's not really family oriented.
That's unfortunate. Their perspective might prove useful.
Maybe, but we're running late enough already.
Late indeed. Why is that, Pearl? Can you tell me? Is Griffin having second thoughts? Has he grown wary about the interview?
Not wary, no, it's just I encourage him to be his own man, okay? Which he sometimes interprets as sticking to his own timetable.
Pearl gestures toward Griffin on the couch.
Just give him a few more minutes to get in the right frame of mind.
Haha, I see. I understand now. Is this what is sometimes referred to in Black idiom as CP time?
Damn. Are you not equipped with a filter or nothing?
I'm sorry. Was that?
Yeah, way out of bounds.
I don't understand. Pearl, are you angry with me? You seem angry.
Of course I'm. You know what? I'm not letting you set me up like that. Angry black woman is the oldest stereotype in the book, and it's not gonna fly. I'm as sweet as licorice, except when it comes to business.
Sweet as Licorice is the name of a track on Griffin's most recent recording. Was that about you?
In fact, it was.
The sales have been abysmal.
You ain't gotta tell me that, okay? Things have been.
Here's what confuses me. In addition to being Griffin's spouse, do you have any official responsibilities? Ones you are paid for? Because a woman who loses herself to her husband's ambition
I
Is
got my own thing, okay? Don't worry. But I do keep an eye on his publishing, making sure he gets his full due and doesn't have to split the profits with you know who.
ah, interesting. Do you always refer to his former girlfriend as a euphemism?
I could refer to her as that Janis Joplin wannabe, but it wouldn't have the same ring to it.
Why not just use her actual name?
Speak of the devil and she may appear.
Devil, in the vernacular sense. Is that it? As in, why'd he be the devil?
Is this your first time talking to an actual black person?
Yes, but I've practiced with simulations.
Griffin sits up, stretches audibly, then nods towards the screen.
These gizmos weren't such an ordinary part of Martin life. Maybe somebody would point out that they're offensive as fuck?
Not ordinary, Griffin. Indispensable.
Yet somehow you're the first one we've ever let through the door.
Griffin was reluctant at first about.
The reluctance shows on his face, but my feelings aren't hurt. It flatters me to be the first of my kind to enter your home, to be a trailblazer of sorts, like Rosa Parks.
I'm a man of my word. You know that, right? It's the reason that I'm here. I made a promise to my wife and I intend to keep it.
A promise?
To speak with you. He made a promise to me. So he's honor bound.
But if it crosses the line again, Pearl, I'm out.
Agreed.
You referred to me just now as it, but just to clarify, my God given name is Cambridge.
God given, huh? Noted. And why Cambridge?
It's where I was born, but I'm not the one being interviewed. Would you like to have a seat? Get comfortable? I have so many questions.
I'm good. We can start.
Thank you all. Our next piece is Beauty of My Youth is Gone, but the Chemicals Remain by Kendra Augustin. Trigger warnings include prejudice, forced cosmetic surgery, unattainable beauty standards, discrimination, and classism. Jamila will be played by Kendra, Max will be played by myself, and stage directions will be read by F.
Lights shift to Jamila and Max, who are in a three-person canoe in the One Good Pond. They row in silence for a few minutes. Bunny sounds in the background, probably. The thunder, you guessed it, claps.
There hasn't been one day of sunshine here. Does it not depress you to live like this? What?
Your people use our land as a dumping ground for their toxic chemicals. They manipulate our weather so yours could be a paradise. I've never seen the sun here.
I doubt that.
You're so clueless.
You could be kinder.
I'm as kind as my circumstances allow me to be.
If there's any harm coming from my land that's intentional, I am sorry.
Not if. Your people sell thinness to us. Perfect skin, strong jaws, sexy cheekbones, fitness, youth, and you get your fatty foods while you hog all of the greens.
I distinctly recall Linda saying that nothing beautiful was expected of anyone here.
Strong ideologies manage to find their way through the cracks. How much was your face?
Pardon?
I noticed you haven't gotten into the buccal fat removal trend when I just call permanent duck face. That's good. But your nose isn't like what it used to be when you were a child. Your jaw was rounder then.
You stole my picture. I see why we send our criminals here.
Max gives her an "oh, there you are" look.
I'm sorry.
Do you have any kids?
Jamila chokes up at this question.
How old are they?
Jamila can't seem to find the words.
Do you like them?
I love them.
Do you like them?
What's the difference?
One's a choice. Do you miss them?
None of this is your business.
We're here to get to know each other, aren't we? I hate dogs and bunnies and all animals, really. I think sweets are poison in disguise. I can't swim. Our beaches are polluted. How old are you?
A lady never reveals her age.
Spare me.
It's an inappropriate question.
Is it because the older you are, the more disgusting you seem?
You don't seem to have respect for people who are older than you.
Is that a requirement?
It's just commonly known that children should respect their elders.
Commonly known where?
Where I'm from. I'm aware this isn't where I'm from, but respecting your elders, that's a standard that seems logical to me.
Have you ever done something so horrific that you wouldn't dare say anything about it in public?
Do you even care for a response to these questions, or is your goal to provoke?
The latter. Have you ever done something so horrific that you worry that if you even think about it too loudly, someone might hear it?
I don't like these questions.
We're here to get to know each other.
Not many of you here seem to be interested in knowing me, which is not what I was sold.
What were you sold, Jay?
Friendship.
Adoration? Is it weird for people not to fawn over you? No one in this land is going to worship you. Well, maybe Elle.
I mean, isn't your jobs to make me feel welcome? You failed.
A pity. Did you ever kill anyone?
Another ugly question.
Ugly people ask ugly questions. Did you kill anyone before?
Why don't you share a horrific secret?
Max tries thinking of a good one to share.
I'm not one of them.
One of who?
I'm not like the other girls here. I'm one of you.
Jamila's brain is short-circuiting.
I'm not an orphan. I'm an escapee.
No one can escape where I'm from, and no one would choose to.
That's why I know you're fake. I know everyone carves their kids' faces at 18 where we're from. Wipe away their ethnicity so they can look all the same. Mannequins shouldn't be sentient.
If you really escaped, the boys on the border would have shot you down.
Not if you're good at making friends.
That is a violation.
If only I cared about the rules.
It's a death sentence if you're found out. It's a death sentence if it's found out that I know. I have to tell.
Who?
Linda?
That con artist?
Stop laughing at me.
Is that a thing you like to do?
Set boundaries?
Send young women to their deaths.
I think they'd be lenient with you.
There's no leniency for bad girls, Jay. You know that.
If you have something to say, spit it out.
I heard your husband's girlfriends would go missing when they got too old.
Where'd you hear those rumors?
Kids talk.
You know my kids?
I didn't say that, but maybe I know a kid who knows a kid who knows a kid who knows your kids. Did you kill all of your husband's girlfriends?
We had a deal.
Find plastic Barbies he could sleep with and you wouldn't have to perform any sexual acts with him? Why did you follow through, though?
I never thought he'd expose me if I did what he wanted.
My dad was a plastic surgeon, too. They can't be trusted. How naive to think you were safe.
I thought exposing me would expose him, but it's a crime to get a new face, but not to carve one. Who knew?
My parents tried to get plastic surgery out of the shadows for years, but the powers that be said, if we openly make beauty something money can buy, then what separates us from them? Just diet and exercise, right? Just drink enough water, right? Just self-care, right?
You're Pam and Joseph's child? The one who disappeared 4 years ago? Maxine?
Max, the one and only. How did you do it? Preserve the cherubic faces of those dead girls. When their bodies were sent here, it was like they were just sleeping angels, all the gruesome details. Please.
Nasty falls? Carbon monoxide poisoning, allergic reactions, induced asthma attacks, finding their weakness and killing them off without incident. That's how I did it.
I think you should have killed your husband instead.
And live as a widow? Embarrassing.
Embarrassment is more horrific than murder. Noted.
Widows and divorcees get exiled much earlier. You know that. I bet you've murdered a few people yourself. Do you swear to keep this just between us?
Nope.
I thought we were sharing secrets.
Not keeping them.
Jamila gets up. She takes the oar from Max's hands.
Our last piece is The Spook House or Spook House at Coney Island by Mia Gogavia. Trigger warnings include war, racism, mentions of death, and general foolishness. White daughter will be played by Akemini. White son will be played by Kendra. White father will be played by Dewey. Black brother will be played by Cyril. Ghostly voice / spook will be played by Kara, and stage directions will be read by Fafa.
The setting: an abandoned, haunted house attraction in Coney Island. 3 white people enter stage right, in order. There is white father, a bloviating conservative patriarch with a suit, tie, and comb-over. White daughter, a wildly mainstream, mildly liberal, post-racialist with a long blonde bob, ruby lips, and a sparkly nude dress. And white son, a wildly liberal, mildly mainstream trustafarian with an ironic suit and tie print shirt and messenger bag with socialist buttons / pins. Son is holding a bag of supplies. All 3 look bedraggled. Father leads the way, carrying a lit torch. Daughter and son follow, apprehensively.
Daddy, I don't want to be here. It's gross. Can we go home?
Oh, we can't go home. We can never go home. The rebellion straight up obliterated everything. Oh my god, I miss Soho so much.
Suck it up, people. This is a new era. We're going to start a new civilization right here, right in Coney Island. After the riot in Crown Heights, nobody will look for us in the belly of the beast. Nobody will suspect that the whites have fled here. We will start our own revolution, slowly reclaim the U.S., restore it to its former white glory, and make America great again.
Well, Brooklyn is where it's at.
I'm not so sure this is a good idea.
Oh, shut up, son.
Don't tell me what to do, Dad!
Please stop yelling. You're gonna wake up the ghosts.
Ghosts?
We're in a haunted house. Didn't you see the sign?
He points to a dusty, crooked sign on the wall. Spook House is written in creepy letters. There is a loud bang, then the sound of little footsteps scurrying down a dark corridor. The white family jumps. The son manages to drop the bag in the corner. Black brother, an adorable little boy with a mass of curls and a plush rabbit, wanders onto the scene.
Mama! Mama!
Jesus Christ.
It's just a kid, Dad.
He's so cute. Daddy, can we keep him?
Please, have you seen my mother? I can't find her. She used to work here before the war, so I thought that maybe she would be
Get
here.
lost, kid. This is our spot and our supplies, and we can't afford to share with any outsiders, especially not anyone who can't contribute, and especially not the enemy.
How heartless can you be? He's just a lost little orphan. It's our duty to take care of him.
She squats, reaches out her arms to Black brother, and coos. He regards her cautiously, moves forward a bit, but does not walk into her. She awkwardly grabs his hand instead, holds it.
It's my duty to keep you safe. He'll probably rob us blind and rat us out to his kind. I'll bet he's just a scout sent to destroy our fortress.
No.
Dad, check this. If we keep him with us, he might, give us a pass with the black militia. We'll be the good white people, the caring white people, the alive white people.
White daughter is caressing Black son's hair and humming to him.
Fantastic. Did you hear that, little Fetty? You can stay.
Huh? Who's Fetty?
You are. That's your new name.
But I have a name. It's not.
Eddie?
I'm obsessed with Trap Queen right now. 1738. Hey,
I'm like, hey,
I'm
what's
like,
up?
hey, what's up?
Hello.
Hello.
He's our blood on the door.
What?
You know, our blood on the door, like Moses. He's the sign protecting us from harm while we escape from the Egyptians.
You don't even read the Bible, bro. Stop being such a hypocrite.
You don't even talk like that, bruh. What's gotten into you?
What are you talking about? This vernacular is totally homogenous with my upbringing, Pops. The alive white people, remember?
Oh, right.
I voted for Obama, you know.
He elbows his father.
Ow!
Say it. Twice.
He elbows his father harder.
Stop it. I voted for.
White son stops on his father's foot.
I voted for Barack Obama 2 fucking times. Jesus fucking Christ.
He grabs a bag of food from White son's hands and runs into the corner to gag.
Now, was that so hard?
Blood, blood, blood on the door.
White father drops the bag of supplies.
Blood, blood, blood on the door.
Nope. Don't want to be here anymore. Come on, Fetty.
She grabs Black brother and runs off stage right.
Calm down. It's okay. There's no such thing as ghosts. It's probably just a mechanical glitch or something.
You're right. This place is falling apart. It's just a malfunction.
Loud banging off stage right.
Yeah!
She runs back on stage with a crying Black brother. She is whimpering. Her hand is covered in blood.
The door is locked and the doorway is bleeding blood. We're trapped.
There's got to be another way out. Come on.
Lights up on a creepy skeleton. On its arms is the bag of supplies dropped earlier. Family and Black brother re-enter stage right, as if they have been wandering through the house.
Hey, sis, pass me some snacks, would you?
I don't have them. Dad has them.
Why would I have them? I don't carry any baggage. That's what I have you and your brother for. What about what's his name?
I don't have them. I think maybe you left them back at the.
You stole them, you little thief. Oh.
Can you just shut up? I think I heard something.
There is a soft "ooh" sound, like the wind whistling down a hallway. Soft, echoey laughter can be heard. Suddenly, the lights go up on the statue. Everyone jumps.
Ah! Oh. It's just a statue. What else? I knew it wasn't anything.
Bullshit. You practically soiled yourself, you pussy.
Look, it's our food.
White father whips around to Black brother.
What did you do?
Daddy, he was with me all along. I held his hand at everything.
This is real creep town.
Well, get it down then.
White son tries to pry the food bag from the statue's hand, but it is stuck tight. White daughter tries to help to no avail.
Oh, get out of my way.
He elbows his children aside and tries desperately to pull the bag out, and the arm with food comes off in his hand. He drops it in fright and clutches his chest.
Daddy, breathe. Breathe.
Come on, we gotta keep moving.
The White family and Black son exit stage right. They reappear at the back of the audience.
Ow, you're stepping on my foot.
Betty.
Fetty doesn't wear heels.
My name is not Fetty.
Why are you wearing heels in the middle of the apocalypse?
Because I'm an empowered woman who makes her own rules. You heard? So woke, right?
I think I found a light switch.
He flicks a switch. House lights go up. They notice the audience staring at them.
Oh my god, the spooks, they're everywhere.
White family screams and scatters. White daughter has Black brother in tow, eventually coming together upstage center, panting and gasping.
We're back where we started.
Shut the boy up.
But it wasn't me.
I said, shut up, you. I've had it up to here with your black talk and whining and dragging us down. We're fighting for our lives here, and you're just...
Creepy, warped carnival music begins. Colored lights flash in circles above and in front of them as the White family huddles together in fear. White father uses Black brother as a shield.
Make it stop, Daddy, make it stop.
Blood on the door! The pound of flesh taken must be repaid.
He is 1 pound. Take him. Take him nicely.
Suddenly, blackout and music stops. Black Brother screams and a loud ripping sound is heard. Lights flash back on to reveal Black Brother has disappeared, leaving his now disemboweled rabbit toy behind.
Did it work?
A black hooded figure appears.
Fools! You have chosen poorly. By sacrificing the child, you have lost your protection. You have lost your token. You have lost your blood on the door, and now you are mine.
You can't scare us. I don't believe in ghosts.
You are only playing brave. You're all just chicken, and everyone knows spooks love chicken, especially white meat.
White family screams and scatters offstage. You can hear them screaming and running, breaking down the door and fleeing into the street. After a pause, the spook removes the sheet, revealing Black Brother, who bursts into laughter. End.
Thank you so much, everyone. That ends our formal programming. We're going to take a brief break, and then we'll be right back for our community conversation. So we are back from our brief intermission, and I have Nick here with us. I'm going to do a brief intro, and then we can jump into our conversation. So Dr. Nicholas Powers is a poet, novelist, and professor of literature. He is the author of 5 books, most recently a political vampire novel, Thirst, published by Upset Press in 2023. He writes on politics, aesthetics, and psychedelics. His writing can be found at Truth Out, The Independent, and Lucid News. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so great to have you. Do you have anything to add to your introductions for us today?
No, I'm a fan of the theater. So hearing fresh plays and them being read, it's like they just came right out of the oven. And so I really, really like it.
Love. Thank you so much. I guess with that, I'm just gonna jump into our little interview section of this. I guess my first question is just wanting to know a little bit more about your journey as a novelist and as a professor, as you mentioned. Just tell us about what that was like for you. Anything you're working on currently aside from what was in your bio. Just yeah, would love to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah. As a writer, writing is my spirituality, it's my playfulness, it's my kink, it's everything, you know.
Mhm.
And it's how I arrange all the sensations, both inner sensations, the world, and I, just kind of like panning for gold. And I just let all
Mhm.
those sensations kind of fall through until I can get a gold nugget. And so that feels good. That's how I kind of move through the world. And I think my relationship to writing definitely changed. The first time I really, really discovered writing was maybe in my like right after like adolescence, like really, really early teens. I
Mhm.
loved writing little surrealist vignettes. I didn't know
Mhm.
that that's what they were. I would just write down dreams that I had,
Mhm.
and they were just enjoyable. And then the dreams grew into stories, and I was reading a lot of comic books and reading novels, a lot of Stephen King novels. And I was a latchkey kid, so I was surrounded constantly by the TV. That was my
Right.
cell phone.
Mhm.
And back then the TV, like you had to have like those radio antennas, so you put like the wire hanger on it and try to bend it so you can get the channels,
Yeah.
which sometimes is a little bit like writing. Sometimes you have to kind of bend your antenna to get that
Mhm.
idea that's floating out there. Um, and it's so my relationship to writing was very pure, very playful, but I was still imitating these models around me.
Mhm.
And then when I got to college, writing became more serious because then I was surrounded
Mhm.
by not just authors, but the reputation around the authors, the way that my, friends and cohort and colleagues were looking at these authors with idealization in their eyes, bright, glowing eyes.
Mm.
and looking at, Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Toni Morrison or,
Mhm.
Alice Walker was really big back then, um, and looking at these writers with halos on. And so, of course, I thought, okay, we got to step up the game. We have to really look at these writers and what they're doing. And then I was reading also a lot of theory. The literary theory and the literature itself kind of supplanted the playfulness of my childhood.
Mm.
And it became more political, more about the movement, more in earnest. I
Mhm.
read, autobiography of Malcolm X and Puerto Rican writers like Alberto Campos, and I thought it's about the movement. So writing became very political. And then I got to grad school, and that just accelerated. But in grad school, I came to go to um, the Graduate Center at 34th Street in New York, and I came in August 2001. So then September happens,
Mm.
and while I was at grad school, and 9/11 was happening, so the towers fell, people were paranoid, they were scared. I happened to go to this event called Burning Man in 2002, and
Mm.
there I rediscovered the playfulness of my childhood. And I needed it exactly at the time when there was so much terrorism and you could smell the ash coming out from ground zero. And I did psychedelics at Burning Man. It was LSD and MDMA. It's called candy flipping when you do them at the same time. And I rediscovered the playfulness, the synesthesia of psychedelics, but also when I came back, I had to somehow put that into the writing. And so my writing became much more personal, more autobiographical, and I rediscovered
Mm.
my voice. And I took it back from the school. I took it back from the academy and institutions of learning, and they became much more personal again. And yet, at the same time, I was doing a lot of reporting. But the reporting was influenced a lot by the creative nonfiction that I was exposed to at the Graduate Center. So Andre Breton, James Baldwin, reporting from the protests, the civil rights movement, um, and foreign like Milan Kundera, reporting from Eastern Europe under communist rule. So it's just these. I was taking these creative nonfiction writers, and then I would go report. So I reported from like New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, and I wrote about the bodies were floating around on the in the water in the city, and whole families were in a march towards like the military outpost to get medicine and help. And I came back, and writing again was very therapeutic. It was very personal, but it was connected to history. And then I went to um, Darfur in 2007. I reported from the genocide. So again, it was creative nonfiction, but I was reporting, but I was going to the camps, the refugee camps, and talking to people there and getting their stories and filling up my body with their stories. And when I got home, pouring that out onto the page and then sending it off to the print, off to the newspaper. And then the last one was Haiti. And I went to Haiti during the earthquake in January in 2010. Went to Port-au-Prince and again reported it. So I went to these extreme places. And what I found there is that it changed my relationship to writing by making it very pure. That there was so much need of people around me that it blew up any narcissistic approach to writing. And I just felt that I was one small leaf on a big river, and the voices of other people were that big river. And so even though I was writing in an autobiographical way, it was really as a mechanism to bring the reader in so they could see all the people who I'd met and hear them and feel them and smell them and just hold them. And so then I guess the last part is I wrote I took all that writing and I put it into the book called The Ground Below Zero. And then I realized I needed to, again, be more playful with the writing. So I wrote this novel, the political vampire novel called Thirst. And it was very like angry Trump years, like all the like
Mm.
I started writing it when Trump was first, coming around. And it actually I just wrote it in a fever, and it was incredibly enjoyable because again that little like 1980s television, like my antenna was picking up the story that was just above me, and I felt like I was kind of channeling the story, and it was writing me more than I was writing it. And so right now, my relationship to writing is I'm finishing up a book on race and psychedelics. And I think the working title is called Tripping on Race. That might change. And again, it felt like I thought there was this book I wanted to write, and then the book took its own momentum, you know? So now I'm going to finish that up, give myself like 1 or 2 months of a break, and then I'll go to the next novel. But yeah, it's, I think my relationship to writing has changed. It's been my therapist, it's been my trampoline, it's been my North Star, it's been my telescope, it's been my enema, and it's been my sword, and it's been my shield. So it's been everything.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you so much for that very full answer. I appreciate that. I guess my next question is kind of, you mentioned very briefly about politics, and just in reading up a little bit about you, I've noticed that Marxism is a topic of interest that you refer to on your website bio and explore in your writing. For those of us who don't know, firstly, can you explain what Marxism is and how you integrate that ideology into your own work and writing?
Yeah, when I first saw Marx, I just saw this black and white photo of a guy who looks like a very angry Santa Claus. Like it's a classic like 19th century image of Marx. And again, my relationship to Marx and Marxism was actually more about loyalty to my friends than me really investigating the ideas. And I think that we can have a relationship to an idea that is more about how we're relating to other people rather than the actual idea itself. And then eventually, because I'm just curious, and I just put the time in and I started reading actually Marx's Capital and some of his earlier writings. And then I read a biography about him. And what really clicked into place for me is that I just saw this, especially when he was young, I saw this young man who was in Prussia, and he was, this young Jewish guy, but his family had, repudiated Judaism because they wanted to integrate into the majority Christian country, right? And I'm like, as a man of color, who doesn't, we all face this pressure by the white majority to integrate. So I was like, okay, I can get where this guy's coming from. Also, he just had this flavor about him. Like you could just imagine him walking through the city of Prussia, like John Travolta, and staying alive. Like he just had this strut. And he was very smart, but he was a Hegelian. He was a philosopher, and he loved Hegel. And he took the German philosopher Hegel's idea that the progression in world civilization is that one civilization has the spirit of the world, the spirit of the times, and eventually it begins to implode and fade, and then another civilization takes its place, and then each civilization is going to lead further and further towards the ultimate end of history, because there will be at some point a civilization in which all the contradictions of human life are finally annexed, they're finally solved. And it was a very spiritual, philosophical, story. But Marx, as much as he loved Hegel, he was, reading these books, and he thought, this is beautiful, but it doesn't feel like real life. So he took that schema and he applied it to economics. And he said, well, what's right in front of me? And what he could see were the rising industries, the smokestacks, the people being herded from the land as peasants and being transformed into factory workers. And sometimes within the same generation, the same family being, pushed at gunpoint and sword point out of the land. And so he began to see that human culture was constantly shifting based on the economic model, the economy. And what he noticed is that the economy was creating so much abundance, but because these factories were creating so much stuff, but they were paying their workers increasingly little, that there was going to be this contradiction. And the contradiction was that capitalism creates an immense amount of things, but in its search for profit, it constantly devalues the worker. But the worker is also the consumer, which means that at some point there's going to be a stretching, and that stretching is going to be a crisis between workers who get poorer and poorer in a world that's filled with more and more stuff. And what a contradiction. You have this world of abundance, this world of wealth, and yet the very people who made that wealth can't even afford it. and you have to
Mhm.
surround it by it every day. And so what he said is, again, he was kind of following Hegel's idea of each society becoming better and better. He said that what will overcome capitalist society will be socialist or communist society, in which the workers realize that they are the ones who created this wealth,
Mm.
and that they have been hypnotized by the media in the pockets of the wealthy. And once they overcome this ruling class ideology, this hypnosis, all these ads, that they will rise up and they will actually seize the factories in their hands. They will seize the means of production. And then they will actually, instead of having all of this abundance just wasting there, they will then actually raise the income and eventually give to everyone the abundance that this new technology has created. And that will end the class struggle, because finally the working class will control the means of production, and it will produce a new world, a world where no one has to starve, no one has to be homeless, and no one has to wait for the capitalist to give them an income so they can buy the things of life.
Mm.
And so when I read that, obviously, just the idea is incredibly, just so powerful. And it's both blinding and warmth giving, and at the core of it, you feel this incredible love and empathy for working people, which Marx had, which was, again, as a man, he was very peculiar. He was a genius. He was incredibly smart. He inhaled huge amounts of information. He was very arrogant. He had a temper, but he also, everyone who writes about him said he just had this incredible empathy for the poor and for the workers. And they don't know where it came from, but he just had it. It was as clear as day. And so when I read that, it, in my writing, helped me to go and look around and to see what is the effect of being a human being where you are at this place in the world, but the screens that we look at, the stories that we listen to, convince us that we're actually in another place. So you can be a worker, but you think, oh, if I just save up, and if I just do the right moves and hustle and grind, someday I'm gonna have a house on the hill. I'm gonna have the American dream. But in reality, many people can't attain the American dream. And so Marxism helped me see that sometimes where we physically are in the world and where we psychologically are in the world are two very, very different places.
Mm. Mm. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Very insightful. I feel like I have a better understanding of what Marxism is more generally. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I guess my last question, and connecting a little bit more back to our theme for this month, just love to hear more about thirst. A small description that I found online says that you renew the vampire genre by placing politics, race, and resistance to fascism at its heart with a stake driven through it. So just tell us a bit about the story and how you
Yeah.
reimagine vampires through a non-white lens, and how difficult was it kind of moving away from white vampire iconography specifically, and kind of having non-white people exist as those figures?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, look, sexy white teens with abs, speaking kind of thespian English, on, on, what is it? What was that? What was that? It was based on the books, Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So, I have to say it wasn't hard at all, because like, as a man of color, who, these, it's FUBU, like, it's for us by us. It's like, I'm just taking the people who are in my life, the people who I see in my mirror, and I'm putting them into this book. And so here it is. And so I thought she did a great job on the cover. And on the back is actually a quote from Karl Marx, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'll tell you and so on the inside they have all these beautiful graphics. So she did it.
Oh.
So she did a great job. And um, the inspiration actually it first came from Occupy Wall Street. I remember it was like, what, 2011 or something like that. When was Occupy Wall Street? 2010, 2011? I think so. But I remember coming back from Occupy Wall Street, and it was like, we are the 99% against the 1%. The 1% are, the capitalists, the ruling class. Beautiful imagery. And I was on the subway, and there was a blank space where the ad should be. I was on the A train. There was a blank space on where the ad, and it was just this fluorescent glow. And I looked at it, and I kind of projected onto it the advertising for the book Thirst, and it said simply, "What if the 1% were vampires?" And all of a sudden, it just clicked, right? So I kind of held this idea of the 1% as vampires for a while, and then over the course, I would just add things that I found in my life. So I run. And I remember running past in Oakland down San Pablo Avenue, which was just glittering with broken glass, and there were alcoholics and sex workers on the corner and dealers, and it was just a really rough time. And I remember jogging through there, and everyone knew me. So, in fact, some of the people were like singing the Rocky theme song as I would go by. That was our ritual. So to have a bunch of alcoholics and sex workers singing Rocky to you as you run is kind of like chef's kiss. And I saw this old glass factory, and it said Maz, right? Because it had other words, but only the M-A-Z was open. I was like, that's her name. And all of a sudden, I started creating this Afro Latina in my head called Maz. And I thought, what if she was hearing the telepathy of vampires, but she thought she was schizophrenic and she was taking pills for it? And then she begins to suspect that she's not schizophrenic, and she stops taking the pills, and she lets herself hear them. And she hears that the vampires are planning to elect, or to get elected as president, one of their own. And if that happens, that person will push the nuclear button, because the vampires want a nuclear war to destroy humanity, because they're energy vampires. And in that ambient radioactive energy, they finally will be free of human beings. And they can just live on their own, because they thirst for human energy. So they wind up going into people's bodies and taking their bodies over. Or they'll drain someone's energy until they literally turn to dust. And they're just thirsty for human energy, but they hate being addicted to human beings. They absolutely despise us, because they're actually energy aliens from another planet who crashed here 100,000 years ago, and they didn't know how to survive in this atmosphere. So they invaded human bodies, and they would just take over that body, and then they would, to live, drain human energy. But they hated being in flesh, because they originally were energy, and they felt that flesh was like a prison. And so a nuclear war was their way of getting rid of us and taking over the planet. And so Maz hears this, and she realizes she has to stop them. And they actually offer immortality to a real estate mogul and say, we need you to be the president. And in exchange, we will make you a vampire like us. We'll make you immortal. But when you become president, you have to push the button and kill everyone you know. And so obviously he's based on Trump, an incredibly selfish man who's willing to kill everyone, even his own family, for the sake of immortality. And so Maz and her friends have to stop him and stop the vampires from letting this happen. And so that's as far as I'll go. But and it just, yeah, it was just based like, okay, well, what if this happened in my neighborhood, my city, with my people? All right, let's do it. And it flowed out. It was really good. And as each character died, I felt the kind of ways about it. As I was writing it, I was like, wow, all right, they're gone. It was a little bit of a relationship.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for just delving a little bit into your process. I feel like I learned a lot about you as an author. I will definitely link Thirst in the description of this YouTube video. So if you guys want to check out the book, you can feel free to. Those are all my formal questions that I had for you, but I'd love to open it up for the rest of the community, if anyone who was still in the Zoom. If you all had any questions or thoughts that you would like to share with Nick. And yeah, just kind of open up the space.
Hi, Joe. I'm D-Way. I do have a question, because hearing Thirst, it reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if you've seen this movie, Vampires versus the Bronx. It was on Netflix.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it. I think I even saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, it reminded me so much of that. So I guess I was wondering if you were familiar with that. But
No, no, of course now I gotta go check it out, right? Gotta put it on the
yeah,
watch queue. Yeah.
yeah, it was very like, Netflix-y PG-13 type movie, but it touches on similar aspects of like vampires as these like gentrifiers in the
Yeah.
Bronx,
Yeah.
like trying to get people to sell their businesses and properties to them. And so yeah, that's really cool. But I really loved like when you were listing off like the ways that writing like shows up for you in your life, like a telescope and a mic. I don't remember all of the things that you said, but one thing that you said that really stuck with me was as an enema, and I thought that was
Mhm.
really funny and also very poignant. And I was wondering if you could speak more to that. Um, like sometimes think that like we view writing as all these things that are like above us, but also thinking about it as like the way that we get all of our shit out is really cool. And so I was wondering if you wanted to speak more to that.
Yeah, I think the body ultimately is just a very innocent, flesh, and that it has its hungers, it has its desires, and when our hungers and our desires are either stamped as dirty or sinful, or there's an obstacle, like we want someone, we want this lover, or we want that money because of the freedom it offers, we want things, and then we can't have it for whatever reason. We get angry, and sometimes we have murderous revenge fantasies in our heads, or sometimes we just or have the most perverse sexual escapades in our minds, or some weird blending of all of that, or we feel about our friends incredible jealousy, because they have something that we don't, and yet we love them. And so what I find is that instead of trying to suppress all that I find that writing is a great way to kind of as an enema to get all my inner shit out. And when I get it out, I actually love it. It's almost like fertilizer. Like it allows more writing to grow because I'm actually embracing the fact that like I'm deeply flawed. I make mistakes in thinking all the time. I make mistakes in how I treat people all the time because maybe I'm hungry or tired or just not in a good space. And instead of like flagellating myself, what I just acknowledge is that like every human being is incredibly complex, and we're gonna have very intense lightning strokes or waves of feelings about people or objects or our own image that are very complicated, and you can't easily untangle the quote good from the bad. They're kind of all there together. And so I like having writing as like my enema and to kind of flesh it out on the page and to see all of it. And sometimes it helps me make sense. Sometimes it actually helps me realize that some forms of morality are more about the social control of our bodies than they are about helping us reconcile ourselves with our bodies or with each other. And they oftentimes force us to sacrifice real truths for the sake of this kind of polite but really brittle facade mask that we wear. And I think that's why writers I kind of like that image of like the I forgot, people circling the city of Jericho and blowing their horns, and the walls come down. That writers sometimes can express a truth that's so terrifying because everyone experiences it, everyone knows it, but no one wanted to say it, and they wind up saying it. Or they actually writers can expose that the battle lines that we thought we had to fight for are actually the footsteps of ghosts, and that we actually don't have to inherit some battles that our ancestors fought, and we can actually be free of them, and we can figure out our own lives on our own terms. So I think writers are just always going to be more honest than ideology. And so that's why for me, my first politics is towards my body. Like what is the shit in my body, and be honest about that and not apologize for it, but just as a writer, don't judge. Don't judge characters when I'm writing, and don't judge myself for writing, and just be like, you're not the only one. You know, everyone has these feelings, but you're the one who's going to write them out. I hope
Thank
that helps.
No, that did help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, D-Way, so much for that question, and Nick for answering. So Fully. Unfortunately, that is all of the time that we have today. But Nick, I just want to reiterate, thank you so, so much for joining us today and for witnessing the show, being a part of it.
Yeah.
And for everyone at home. I guess just for our last little bit, do you have anything that you would like to plug that we could put in the description of this video? Any projects that you're excited about?
Uh, sorry, just doing the psychedelics. I hope the book is coming out. But
Mm,
more than that, I would just say like I'm fine. I just say that I heard so much talent today,
mm,
and I really encourage everyone to keep um just doing the work of reminding yourself to play. And playing doesn't mean, being safe or preachy or political. You don't owe anyone anything. Just play. And in that play, really find your way back to your body and to each other. But we deserve you at your most honest, because you're going to be your generation is coming up and telling us what the truth is now. And we really want to hear what you have to say rather than you recycling what other people were saying and they expect you to repeat. Like you don't have to repeat the ghosts. We really want to hear what you have to say.
mm. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Well, for that, that is the end of this Melanated Monday. You can continue to follow everything that BRTW is doing on our website at www.blackrevolutionarytheaterworkshop.org. That is theater with an R-E, or on our Instagram at the BRTW and Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop on Facebook. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.